Thanks very much for joining us this afternoon. Before we start, we've got a video to show us what all you guys do.
All right.
After every show, the first thing we do is get on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram to talk to the fans. I think it goes without saying that technology is an essential part of who we are as a band and who we are as people.
And the wasteland of today, when tomorrow disappears, when the future slips away, and your love turns
It was fantastic. I felt like I was in the front row.
in the wasteland of today. In the wasteland of today.
Okay, to start with Mike and Joe, I guess. What do you think virtual reality can bring to the gig experience, and how could you apply it to what you do?
Go ahead, Joe.
A world of craziness. I don't know. I love the potential of not just having someone at home be there and have that immersive experience, but also to be able to create things with the AR, to eventually have the ability to have a perspective in VR with the cloud point data once that becomes available, and not just see things from wherever you put the camera, but really to be in control of where you as a viewer want to be in that environment. That doesn't exist yet, but I'm really excited about where that's going.
Besides, for us, our fan base is like 2/3 or 3/4 outside the U.S. And the age range also is really wide. It's like 13 to 35, spread pretty evenly, 50-50 male, female, pretty close to that. So given those numbers, we can't play all of the places where we'd like to play. In fact, we have a huge fan base. One of our biggest fan bases is in India. We've never played there. One of the other biggest fan bases in China, and it's been a really long time, many, many years since we played there. So this, theoretically would give us a chance to give some really great experiences to the fans who we can't get out and see.
Yeah. And as kind of manufacturers of this technology in the vanguard, what do you think that you can bring to bands? What sort of, can you tell us about the experiments you've done so far in this area and where you think they might develop?
Well, I think for us, we're very excited to be in this space right now because it's early days, and the fact is that we're using existing technologies right now to create immersive experiences, and we're excited because we're putting teams together to create purpose-built technologies that aren't available yet, but that are being adapted into military space and coming out of universities. And we're excited to work with people, like Linkin Park and other bands and brands because they really want to keep connected to their fan base and to the consumer. So it's really bringing, brands and consumers together into this new medium. Yeah.
DJ, have you any further thoughts on that?
I think for VR and music, it's it's really the entire VR experience. It's a completely new medium. So for artists, performers, for content creators, it's going to be able to connect people with a new medium in a way never possible before in any previous medium that we've known. So at Nextvr, we actually started the company 6 years ago. We're focused right now on deployment of the technology globally, so that as is already pointed out, so we have partners in spaces that have huge fan bases in China, Asia, and Europe. We're able to connect those fans with the technology in ways never possible before. So it's really about expanding, and it's going to really give people new ways to access things they couldn't access.
Yeah. I mean, obviously a large part of the concert-going experience is the kind of, communality, the feeling of bonding with the other fans, and also being in the same room as the band as well. I mean, VR is in a way the opposite of that. How do you kind of overcome that sort of idea of being isolated in a room? How do you make it a kind of a real experience as an artist?
One of the things I'm excited about the potential of the creative expression that goes on, that can go on in the medium. And so that's for one thing. It's like we were talking about earlier, there's a big difference between somebody who's just good at playing an instrument. You know, you watch a YouTube video of a guy who's just shreds at guitar and he can play a lot of notes really fast. And then there are groups who can take that kind of a skill and communicate emotion with it, right? Those are the things that you really connect with at the end of the day. So right now we're kind of in that play a lot of notes real fast moment where we're saying, okay, this is the technology. Let's see how far we can push that and what we're starting with and how we can get it to people. But then at a certain point, you've got to really focus in on what is the content? Like, what are you creating and what are your messages? How are you moving people and how are you bringing the fans in and making connections? In our band, we have obviously, to us, maybe not to everybody, people here may not know, but Joe and I actually met in art school. He left to go into pursue a career in film and has directed the vast majority of our music videos. And the two of us oversee all of the aesthetic decisions in the band, from the packaging to the website, marketing, the live show, anything visual that creates that pairs with the music to create that experience. And so it's built in to our DNA, and so we're excited to really just jump in the weeds with people and come up with stuff that we know is going to really move our fans.
Yeah. And do you think concerts are a particularly fertile area for VR, or are you more interested in kind of sports events? You know, do you think that bands will start doing this all the time in sort of 5 years or so?
I think there's things that can be done today. I think what Google's doing with Cardboard is very interesting because it's enabling the masses to get an experience. It's not the best experience, but it's an introductory experience. And for consumers to take their mobile phone, and most of the phones that have been manufactured after about October of last year are VR-enabled phones. And to be able to take that phone and drop it into a sub-$20 VR headset and have an experience, that's something that can introduce the markets into VR. Yeah. And there's other companies that are taking the Google Cardboard infrastructure and creating a little higher level headset and putting that on the market soon. So I think consumers are going to have the opportunity to experience VR and AR very soon, and then it's up to the creatives to create very compelling content that can be consumed on those headsets.
Yeah. I mean, how about live streaming in VR? Is that a possibility further down the line, would you say, DJ?
It is possible, and it's something we're doing now. We recently did we didn't live stream it, we did a concert with Coldplay, and we released one of the songs with the band, which is currently on the current devices out there. But right now, across all of our different partnerships, we're basically building out the deployment for being able to do live concerts and live sporting events. We did an NHL game and a hockey game, basketball, and some other things. But the technology's there, and that's what we're doing now. It's very busy at Nextvr right now, but as far as outside, it's really the calm before the storm. There's so many different hardware platforms that are coming out this year, and the quality of those platforms is very high. It's really this fall is when we're going to have consumers really knowing about virtual reality, and there's a whole ton of content coming.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, can you tell us about a few of the other experiments you've done with kind of cutting edge technology and how successful they are, and also maybe how you measure that success? Is it in terms of engagement or in terms of people who see it, or record sales? How's success judged in this era?
Well, it's been a different. We've had the opportunity to experiment a lot, and we're willing to try things that aren't going to. And we're willing to try and fail. We're willing to try, for example, one of the videos that we did was Facebook enabled. It would pull feed from your personal page and embed it in the video, and you'd be watching a video for a song called Lost in the Echo, and your own personal photos would show up. The character would open a suitcase and pull out Polaroids, and it was your friends and your dog or your food, whatever you're taking pictures of. We did a project with, we did a video with Project Spark, Microsoft's sandbox platform, And that one, we wanted to create something, give the fans tools to kind of build more stuff. Just using those two as examples, like I feel like the Lost and the Echo one, it did exactly what we thought it was going to do and better. The Project Spark one didn't quite get there, and it was nobody's fault. It was just okay, this one didn't quite connect, and so there it was. But when we look at it, we go, that's fine. We're going to continue to go down those paths, and especially if there's something we learned from one of those experiences. We had on this video that we just showed. In fact, there was a project we did with Square, where we basically turned our fans into authorized bootleggers.
Yeah.
It was called LP Black Market, and they would get Square readers, and they could drive around town, basically sell our merch, and they would take a cut. They would get paid for every item that they sold.
Yeah.
And that's one where I felt like the first version of it didn't really perform as well as we would have liked, but we instantly saw places where it could have been better. And I think we'll probably follow up on it and do a better version of it maybe, in the next, we hope to have a record out next year. So maybe we'll try again next year and see if we can improve on the effort.
Yeah. I mean, do you find the music business sort of set up to kind of innovate with bands? Is it easy, are they easy to work with at the moment, or can you just kind of deal with very top-end bands who have loads of money and there's not so much kind of risk?
I think that this is something that from independent bands, starting bands. I mean, there are camera and acquisition technologies out there that are low res, but that are affordable.
Yeah.
For $300, you can buy a Theta camera right now and go shoot 360 video and stills. And so you can go out and become a 360 videographer today. Right. It's not at the highest quality, but it's a start, and it's a new medium, and it's going to take trial and error for it to be, come mainstream. And working with, Linkin Park, they're on the forefront with their music. They always are trying to stay ahead of the technology curve, and I think that a lot of bands want to stay current and stay with technology. So I don't think it's out of reach.
Yeah.
I think it's something that a lot of bands will get to at some point, and the progressive ones will get there first.
Yeah. I mean, DJ, how do you think things will evolve? Will kind of and are bands particularly easy? Is it an easy win doing VR with concerts?
It's actually pretty easy compared to other types of things, because the camera can be put in a location that doesn't necessarily require an operator, because the audience is the operator. They're deciding where they want to look. So they may be able to, with our technology, you can have several locations around, say, a concert, and they can teleport around. Or if they choose, they might choose to have someone be the guide for them, to kind of take them on a journey for them. But at the end of the day, what we're finding across all, specifically around music, with all the different artists and bands we're working with at the moment, is that they all seem to be into technology, which is a great way to push. It's been my career about using or creating new technologies to either tell a new story in filmmaking, or maybe in the case of music, new ways to create music. But nothing replaces going to a concert or a performance live. Nothing, I don't think, will ever replace that. But to give fans an opportunity to experience things beyond a front row seat, maybe sitting next to their favorite drummer or standing next to their favorite artist. Those are experiences that our technology is about delivering, is ways to experience that in a new way.
Yeah,
so.
That's it. I mean, can we talk a bit about the sort of discussions around this? And you're very active on social media, particularly after gigs. I mean, can you sort of talk about how that developed and how you did it, and how you kind of stoked a fan base or managed to maintain a very close relationship with your fans?
Well, we run our own social media. We've always kind of done it that way from the beginning. It was like in the earliest incarnations of, first of all, to start, when we started the band, we picked the spelling Linkin Park because we wanted the .com, and this is at a time when we put out an email address, a mailing list rather, and we get like half of them would give us email addresses and half would give snail mail, because people weren't really using email yet.
Yeah.
So that just to give you an idea of like the timeline.
Yeah.
Also, MP3 was invented when we started putting out music. So I would say we're kind of like the perfect band as far as where technology is right now.
Yeah, it was that time, that moment where the band was born and everything started changing all at once, and we had to kind of ride that wave. So social media, when people ask me about it, I feel, especially in like a conversation where you're talking about a lot of people who run marketing for corporations, they talk about, oh yeah, we have fans. It's like, well, it's nice that they want to think that way, and I respect that. But at the end of the day, having a fan really requires extra respect on your end. It requires extra attention and an honesty that's, I read once, and there's a book by Joe Calloway called Category of One, and he talks about when your vision of your brand it overlaps with your fans' perception of what that brand is, that's brand strength. But you can say, if it's a part and your fan says, this is what you are, and you say, no, we're this, we're over here. You can say that all you want all day until it overlaps for real in their minds. You've got brand weakness. There's no getting around it. And part of that is that by us running our own social media, we just are who we are. You know, some entertainers, some celebrities, some musicians will have their publicists running social media and so on, and inevitably there's going to be a disconnect. That's not really you, like the person I'm seeing on stage, the person I'm seeing in the interview.
It's more of a relationship than acquisition.
Yeah, no,
right.
Definitely. And I was wondering whether certain bands might be at an advantage or disadvantage with VR. I mean, would it be as exciting to see like obviously high energy, Linkin Park did a very high energy rock show, but there are some bands who just would want to sit and strum an acoustic guitar. Could that still be exciting done in VR?
Well, I think one of the great things about VR is that it personalizes, it has the potential to personalize the experience. So you can choose the camera, as DJ was saying, but also is access. I mean, put a camera behind stage, put a camera on the bus when they're on tour.
Yeah.
It's you connecting with that band in a personal way, like Mike was saying and Joe about connecting with that fan and really giving that fan what they want. And they want to know where the words are coming from, connect with that band. And I think that virtual reality and augmented reality enable that.
Yeah. Right now there are some companies offering super premium access to groups or super premium fan packages. So whereas you think of like, oh, I could get a signed thing or whatever, like there are people agreeing to do like, for this much money, you can actually have dinner with the actor, or you can go on a fishing trip with so-and-so, right? And I would imagine that this leads into that, where you could, whether it's you pay to do it or whatever, or you win it, or we can create a piece of content that's just somewhat personalized for people, you start giving that feeling. You can actually make something that's wonderful for a fan and say like, I'm actually standing in front of you, and we're having some kind of interaction, and maybe you're part of the show, maybe you're on stage with us, maybe, more than just like a camera sitting on the side of the stage.
Yeah, no, certainly. I mean, I suppose this feeds into an ongoing kind of debate that some musicians have where they say, oh no, there's no mystique anymore, bands aren't remote. Is that just a very old-fashioned way of thinking today, do you think? I don't know whether you have any thoughts about that, DJ.
I missed the last part. You said mystique. Is it going to...
A lot of bands say that now in the world of the web, there's no mystique anymore. They're very kind of close to, the fans are too close. They're not remote like David Bowie was in the 70s. Is that just a very old-fashioned way of thinking?
I don't know. It seems like, from my perspective, bands performing for an audience, that's the ultimate thing. They create great music, great performance, great shows, and that's what you go to see. And then over the years, they've had two-dimensional content. If it was a video, although there's some great videos out there, or even a live concert, it's very flat, and it doesn't seem like would ever be representative of going to a concert. But VR is different. So I don't know that I see it would take away as much as it could enhance the experience. So as the point before, nothing replaces going to a concert, but if you can give fans experiences beyond a concert, in addition to, such as up on the stage, behind the scenes, or as was pointed out earlier, you could actually say that you met someone in person. So they wouldn't say they watched Linkin Park. They say maybe they say I got to meet the band, or they felt like they got to meet the band.
Yeah. I guess that's the thing. Do you want to allow fans behind the curtain, or is it just something that you feel you have to do, or is it something you want to do?
Yeah, with VR, I guess you're eliminating the frame, right?
Yeah.
So you're seeing beyond that. And I think it's up to the content creators, or whether it's a band or a YouTube guy or an actor or a film project, to choose where they want to be on the spectrum of being mysterious or being
Totally open.
exploitative or
Yeah.
or voyeuristic. I think I think people like the mystique because there's some artistry in that. You know, if you look at old paintings, and there's always like this little mysterious thing, like what someone's about to do.
Yeah.
But that's a choice of the artist and how they want to communicate with the audience. But I've noticed that there's a sick part of our culture that doesn't want that anymore. And
Yeah.
you look at YouTube, they want to get straight to the point,
Yeah.
right? So I see there being something for everyone.
Yeah. Great. Well, thanks very much for a good discussion. Thank you.